Morning, everybody. It's a little after 6 today. Just finished a 3-mile run for today's workout plan. Started to rain at the end of it, but that's okay. It's God's air conditioning, kind of helps keeps things cool, and made it a little more pleasant to finish up the run. But yesterday, I was able to work a shift. I had a medical student with me, and we had two interesting CT scans that we reviewed together and we talked about. There are two individuals. One had a significant quantity of healthy muscle tissue, and the other one not so much, right? So the healthy one, who is very homogeneous texture on the CT scan, is very thick. There's not a lot of fatty tissue around it. The other one you could see was definitely more atrophied. It had a lot of marbling, some intramuscular fat deposits. And we were able to compare side by side these two different scans and these two different appearances of the muscle and talk about the metabolic effects that muscle has on glucose regulation. So we talked about this recently over the weekend. There's two major glucose transporters in muscle, the GLUT series and the SLGT series, right? Particularly GLUT4 is the major metabolically active one. And these are responsible for taking glucose up out of the bloodstream into muscle. And they play a huge role in glucose regulation, right? Either at a basal rate or at a increased rate when stimulated by insulin. The other thing we talked about recently, and we talked about yesterday on shift, is that movement, exercise, contracting that muscle can also upregulate the GLUT4 transporters, allowing a lot more glucose to enter into the muscles, and really helps out a lot with glucose regulation systemically throughout the whole body. So that's the thought for this morning. One of the reasons why we work out is not just for the strength parts, not just for the stability, the longevity part, but also for the metabolic part that this provides. So when we work out, when we exercise, we stimulate the muscle to move. We stimulate that GLUT4 transporter to come to the surface of the muscle cell to suck that glucose out of the bloodstream into the muscle, so it can be utilized as fuel, but also can help protect our body, keep the glucose in normal ranges. And the other thing we looked at yesterday is we looked at the blood glucose for these two individuals. Now, there's a lot of confounders. We don't know when the patient's last ate, right? That has a huge effect. But what we saw is the person with unhealthy muscle had a pre-diabetic level glucose, whereas the person with healthy muscle had a very normal looking glucose. And so, all things being equal, I think, when you see this unhealthy muscle, you're going to see kind of this rise in glucose because you have a decreased ability to regulate that glucose in the bloodstream. Whereas if you have healthy muscle tissue, you're going to have kind of normalizing. So if you're out there, if you're kind of in that pre-diabetic range, start working out, right? It's going to do a number, like a huge number on bringing that sugar down, helping you out a lot in the long run, decreasing the complications of diabetes, like high blood pressure, kidney disease, heart disease, stroke disease, cancer, things like that. So that's the thought for today. Get out there, get after it, train that muscle, get that GLUT4 transporter to the surface, and get that glucose working for you. Have a good day, guys. Get after it.